All right, what we need to do right now is we need to get either our paints hydrated or remixed. I did leave mine in here this time because I wanted to use a lot of these colors. So I'm just going to take a little bit of water and put it in my blue because I know I'm going to use some blue. Rinse that out really good. I know I'm going to use some red. Get some red mixed up. There's a good chance I'll probably use some green. Don't know how much yellow I'll use, if any, but I'll put a little bit in there just in case. And then I will be using the black a little bit today. So I'm coming down and getting some water in my black. That's just so those are ready to go. The rest of these that are in my upper part of my tray, just make sure I add a little water. This one I want a little darker. So I'm adding a little bit of water to it. So these are ready to go. Muddied up my green a little bit when I did that, but oh well. I'm going to make some more of this dark blue green. And I'll probably get some of this gray, more of it. And I might even use a little more of that tan. So just getting everything in my upper tray ready to go. So just take a second, get everything ready so we're ready to roll. And we're not waiting on anything. So while I am waiting on you guys, I am going to add a little bit more of that water to that blue gray up here. It's a lighter blue gray. And make sure you have a test paper handy somewhere. As I mentioned the other day, I was not happy with the way that fin turned out. Zoom in on that first because that's one of the things I want to fix first. Wasn't really happy with how that turned out. I am going to take, I don't really like the shadow on the one behind it either very much. I think it's too dark. So I think this area is slightly too dark. So I'm just going to get it wet. I'm just using clear water, getting it wet, and then I'm just going to take either a paper towel or a Kleenex and press down on it, and it will actually pick up some of that paint and lighten that up. Now it's not as dark as it was, and that I can live with better than what it was originally. It was just too dark. Then I'm going to come in with my gray that I've already mixed up, my upper tray. And I'm going to just go back over the rays on this. I'm going to check it on my test paper first. Yep, that's not too dark. So I'm just going to come in here. Now that this is dry, I can go back over it. And I like that a lot better than what I just had on there. And this one I'm just going to lightly go back over some of these too. And that's really all I needed to do on that. I just wanted to fix it because it bugged the heck out of me. Yours might have been fine, but mine was not. Back over so I have the reference up on my page. Does anybody need any more time on that fin or anything else for that matter while we're... Okay, in my upper part of my tray I do have this kind of that dark blue green. I need some more, so I'm going to mix up a little bit more. That is the whole reason I put water in my paint to start with up here, so I'd have plenty of it. And I'll get some more green in there. And then maybe just a little more blue. And I hate to do this, but I'm going to take a chance, and I'm going to put just a drop of black in that. So I just barely got it on the tip of my brush. I'm putting it in there. I just need it to get darker than what it is. I'm going to look at it and see if it's what I want or if it's too black. It's pretty black, so I'm going to add just a little more blue to it. Maybe even a little more. It's still pretty black. I hate using black because it's such a dominant color. Okay, that's more of a blue. Hopefully that shows up on there. More of a blue than a black now. I want to go a little bit darker on my back of my fish. I hope I don't wreck it. But when you're painting live and demonstrating live, you just never know what's going to happen for sure, but we will find out. So I'm going to take a little bit of clear water, just to be on the safe side, and put along this bottom edge of this blue area up here. That way if it bleeds into it, at least I know it will get a little lighter when it bleeds into it. Okay, and not just have a hard line right there. Now I'm going to take that really dark color. I'm going to come across all the way across my back. Of course, it instantly bled into it. I want the darkest area right on the top edge. Down here it got a little bit of a hard edge, so I'm just bringing some water in and softening it up. But now it's a lot closer to the darkness that I wanted in here. So that's a good thing. Don't want that hard edge though. So it's a constant battle to try to keep those hard edges out of there. But we just do the best that we can. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be pretty good. Okay, I got a little bit of an area down here that needs to go a little bit darker too. So I'm going to bring that water in. Along that edge, along this edge, it's just clear water. And then I'm not going to go quite as aggressive on this one. Go to this very outside edge. I'm not putting a very thick line there. And this very outside edge. Then I'll come in with just my brush and a little bit of water and just kind of feather it out. So I don't want this to turn the whole tail end all black. Just want it to go a little darker. If you get too much paint there and do that, the whole thing's going to go really dark on you. A little darker is fine. And hopefully we didn't just destroy all your paintings with that, because it is scary to use that darker color. Who needs more time to finish that up? Raise your hand if you do need it, because I don't know. I absolutely don't know if you don't tell me. Okay, thank you. We're going to jump in and use our bright reds here in just a second. I usually keep 2 cups of water at my table, so I got 1 dark and 1 clean. That way I got an option. But I may end up having to replace them both here pretty quick, because my dark cup, as you can see, is getting pretty dark. My light cup is still okay to some degree, but it saves me a lot of trips to the sink. And there are plenty of cups that everybody could have too if they wanted. So. All right, this is kind of drying now. Now we're going to do something that is a little more scary. We've got to go a lot darker with the red on some of the fin areas in the center and this center stripe on here. I've already got it mixed up here, and basically it's just red, and I've watered it down just a little bit. I don't want it to be as light as what I've already got on there. So I can set my test paper right next to this and put some on there and see that that's clearly darker than that pink that I've got on there. But I don't want it to be like this kind of red, like straight out of the tray, which is like this. As you can see, it's super, super dark. I don't want that. I don't want it blood red. I want it slightly lighter. That's why I've added just a little bit of water to it. So we'll do the easier of the 2 places, and that's this center line through here. I'm just going to take some clear water and go right down the middle of it, and then barely above to the upper edge, and then to the lower edge. But I'm just going to get it wet right down the center, and then I'm going to load my brush up with that darker red, and I'm going to run right down the middle with it. And I want it to have kind of a fuzzy edge on the bottom edge and the top edge. That's why I put that water on first. If it's getting a hard edge to it, like I'm getting right here, all I got to do is just add a little bit of water, and that fades it out right there, just like that. Now I don't have a hard edge. There's a little bit of a hard edge on the top. Again, just a little water, and just like that, it goes away. Really hope you guys understand what I mean by hard edge, soft edge on that. I just want it to look like a fuzzy streak just went across there. And that actually looks pretty good. I like that. That's what we were shooting for. But it is a little scary, because it's like, man, that's a really intense color in there. So if it's too dark and you're looking at it and going, oh no, I got it way too dark, just add a little water to it. Or you can take your paper towel or Kleenex and just soak it up, and then just add a little water and blend it out. So, don't necessarily have to live with it the way, if it got a little too dark to start with. Can you close that? Thank you. Up around the gills now, we need to go a little bit darker in here too. So I'm going to use the same red I used before. I'm just going to get a little bit of water on this upper half. So right in here, that's almost too much water, it's too shiny. A little bit of water going across here. Then I'm going to bring the darker red on the bottom half. And it's okay this time if I do have a hard edge. So I actually want this to be fairly dark right here. And then I want it to fade out into that water above. I'm going to actually bring it all the way to the edge of my gill. I'll bring some right here and some right here. All right, now I don't like those edges, so this is where the water comes in. Just soften it up. Bring that down so you can see closely. I'm just coming in and breaking that edge up and softening it up a little bit with just clear water. That's all I'm doing. Now, that's pretty much right, exactly what I wanted. I even want to go just slightly darker on the bottom, so I'll just bring a little more paint in. Let it blend out. That is what I want. And the only last detail spot we're going to worry about is we're going to do a little bit of work around that eye. And then it's time to put a ton of dots on it and finish the water. Now this I've got pretty wet, so as I'm painting and working, I'm going to kind of keep an eye on it to make sure it doesn't dry in some kind of funky shape or something, because it very well could. Okay, I'm not going to use any more of my green on this. I've pretty much got all the green that I want on here. Pretty much finished up with it. So this area that I've got my green with, up here, I'm going to take a little bit of this darker color that I had here that I've already used. I'm just going to get a little bit, and I'm going to come up here and muddy up that green just a little bit so it's not quite the light green. More of a muddied up green with a little bit of that blue, green, black that we had. Yeah, muddies that up a little bit. Gives me a color like this, which you can see is kind of a greenish gray. Okay, this is this color straight is like this. This green with a little bit of that, it grays it down a little bit, and that's what I want it to do. But I don't want it to be super dark, just a little. Okay. But around my eye, it's just too dang bright all the way around the eye, so we got to do a little shading work and stuff in there. So I'm going to zoom this in right on the eye. Hopefully it'll focus. There it goes. I'm going to take a little bit of that color that I just made up, and I'm going to come around the outer circle of this eye. That's this part out here that right now is white. Right in here, I'm bringing just a little bit of that gray in there, and I'm going to bring it along the bottom here. Rinse my brush out really good, because right here I want to tone this yellow down a little bit just with some water. And the same thing right here. But I do want to leave a lot of that yellow in there But I'm going to take a little bit of this blue-gray that I've got right here, and I'm going to add just a drop of water to it right on my test sheet so it lightens it up. And I'm going to put that along the bottom edge of my eyeball right here. It's along this bottom edge. It's not very dark, but it's just enough to make it so it's not crazy bright yellow. Okay, after you finish that, this would be a good spot to change your water if you want to. I know mine's kind of a mess, and we're going to work with a whole bunch of black here in a second, so I'm going to take my dirty water, change it out if you need to. That would be a good time. We're going to go all crazy with this stuff. I did notice a spot just now as I'm looking at my painting. This upper lip right here, I've got it too bright on the upper half, so I'm just going to take that same color that I used around the eye. I'm just going to bring it down and darken the upper half right here. Just leave that little sliver of yellow at the bottom. It's just too bright. Okay, there, that looks better. Didn't need that big glaring yellow lip sticking out, so we got rid of it. So if yours was bright yellow, just tone it down a little bit. Move that up. Now, some of this is just fine-tuning stuff before I get to the spots. I've also noted that on my dorsal fin, some of my rays blurred out because the paper was a little bit wet when I painted through there the first time. I'm just going to go back and define it just a little better. If you don't need to do this because yours turned out just fine the first time, then don't. But if some of them blurred out because there was too much water on your paper, now's the time to fix that real quick. Now I can clearly see those, and they're not just faded away. All right, now the fun part. We're going to go ahead and get our black good and wet here. I'm going to put some up in my upper tray, and this is going to be pretty darn dark right now. I'm not going to tone this down very much. I want this to stay pretty dark. So, that up so you can see what I'm doing. I'm taking black and putting it right in here. This is quite dark. Load my brush with the water at least once, maybe twice. And then I'm going to look at my test sheet. That's still pretty darn dark. Maybe third time with some water. Because I do want it dark, but not necessarily black. Okay. So 3 full brushes of water in there at least. You might even get away with 4. We don't want it light gray. We want it a dark gray. But I wanted to make sure that I toned it down just a little bit because I don't want it to look like, I don't know how well this will translate on the screen, but if I put this like right next to that area, you can see that that is much darker. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if you can see it. This is darker than that in real life. I don't know that it's showing up there. So I'm not going to worry about it. Just know that you got to tone it down just a little bit. And this part is kind of random on how we're going to do it, but we're going to put spots on it. Rainbow trout have a whole bunch of dots on their side and down through their tail. I'll show you this really quick, bringing that over. See all those spots? That's what we're going to do. So let me show you how to do that correctly. First, I'm going to show you how not to do it. So here's how you don't do it. You don't come on here and just start pressing down and getting all kinds of weird stuff going on there like that, okay? You want to just barely touch it with your tip. If you need a little bigger, press just a little harder. Try to keep it round. Try to avoid doing like I did right here, where it looks like a little comma or something. You want to just kind of get just little tiny. You don't want perfect circles. That's not what they are. They're just dots. But be careful that you don't press too hard and start getting giant, crazy, furry-looking stuff on there. And you can see what I mean by furry-looking as I bring that up closer to the camera, if it will focus. Give it a second. Yeah. See how those look kind of furry, like little creatures? Most of the dots will not be in the center of that pink part, and there will be no dots on the gill plate right here. Pay attention where I'm pointing right here. No dots right here on the gill plate. They will be on the back, below, a few in the middle, and then quite a few here, and then on the fin. So it's probably just better to just sort of follow along and watch as I'm doing this. And I'm just going to take my time. I'm going to start at his nose. I'm going to work my way backwards. I'm just going to barely touch it. In this area, they're going to be quite small. They tend to be smaller as you get to the nose end of things. And I'm not going to bring it very far down onto the gill plate here. And I'm not going to put 5 million of them on here either. They're spread out. Right now, they're fairly small. Okay, so I'll just stop right there for right now so you can see them. I don't have, I doubt there's even 20 right there. Okay, we don't want hundreds and hundreds of them right around the head. Just a few. Don't let me forget to finish that pupil out either before the day is over. I might get busy and forget, and I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm going to back this out a little bit. As we start to move down the back and through this area here, this is where some of the dots, I'm going to press just slightly harder with my brush, pressing down a little harder, because now they can get a little bit bigger on the main body. And you can have some that are tiny, like we did on the head, like this, and you can mix it up. The important thing is everything doesn't look generic exactly like the one before. Nature doesn't work that way. It varies. So we don't want everything to look exactly the same. Everybody should be a little different. So for now, just concentrate on his back and down to the pink stripe. Don't go below it. Don't go right in the middle of it. And try not to get everything in a perfect row. Try to keep it really random as you're putting these on. And try not to get them too gigantic. Barely using the tip of that brush. And they're not perfectly round, nor are they perfectly round in nature. They're kind of abstract looking, but they are spots. If your brush starts to spread out too much, mine's starting to do that and give me like a double thing, just take your brush and roll it on your paper, and that gives you your point back. Just roll it. You get a nice point, get more paint in it, and just come back and start working again. You can also roll it in the paint as you're picking up the paint. That's easier for you. So I'm painting with intention. I am keeping it random looking, but I'm putting them on intention. I'm not just taking my hand and going dot, 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 and not even thinking about what I'm doing. I'm trying to make sure that I put them right where that I want them to go. Not just accidentally appear on my paper. Okay, while we are on this upper half, the next area I'm going to go is on this upper fin. And I'm going to put them just kind of above the ray. That's the ray going right there, the little gray area. I'll kind of go in between on the next row. A little random, I don't want it to be too much, but I do want them kind of sitting right on the ray. Some will have more, some will have less. We're just putting a few spots on there. We're not going crazy. We're not trying to fill that whole thing up with spots. But I am just using that ray as kind of my guideline to put them on there. And I know putting dots on is a little bit tedious, but I actually enjoy it because I'm just trying to keep it random looking, but semi-controlled, that I'm putting them on purpose and not just looking somewhere else while I'm putting them on. I want to actually be focused on what I'm doing. Varying the size, meaning medium, large, small, and trying not to get everything in a straight line on the body. Does anybody need more time with the spots of what we have done so far? Okay, I don't see any hands. So now we're going to come down. I'm actually add a little water in my black because it's getting kind of dry, but I'm going to come down below here and I'm going to put some in, but I don't want to get too far down below. This is about as far down as I'm going to go. When I say down, I'm talking towards the belly. I'm not going to get any further down than that. Note that I am varying the size on these. Not putting a ton on there, just a few, and then I'll bring some up into that pink. Generally, there's kind of an area in that pink where it sort of just doesn't exist. They don't exist. It kind of just stays open. But right up here near the gill plate, sometimes it will go all the way across that band, get a little bit thicker. And I'm just going to connect it right here and then fade it out as it comes down this way. But I'm not going to do that all the way down here. So however many I put up above, I'm trying to keep it kind of a similar texture, similar looking down below as it is above. So I don't want to have like a zillion up here and then half as many down there. I want it to be about the same. So it looks like the same artist did it and it wasn't two different people put them up. have some fins on this one too, right here and right here. And they can use a few. Again, we're not going to go all crazy. They'll be fairly small on here. Barely using the tip. Again, kind of using that little ray as my guideline through there. You'll notice I don't have a whole bunch on there, okay? In fact, there's big areas that don't have any. It's important to not go too extreme on these. They do have spots, but not a ton of spots. So it gets about 50-50 almost. Area that has spots and the areas that don't on that. I don't want it to be too much. This little fin down here that's in the water, don't put any on it. Just leave it alone. And we're going to come up here on the tail and do the same thing. Follow the rays. And sometimes tails do have a lot of spots. Just depends on the individual fish. I'm going to try to stay consistent with what I've done throughout the painting. I don't have anywhere that's got, just a blinding amount. So try to keep it consistent with what I've already done. But I am following those rays. So they had some uniformity to it. In an ideal world, before we painted the next one, we'd make a field trip to the lake and catch some and call it field studies. And you could take pictures and then you could come back and make your fish look like the fish you caught. Don't think we're going to get to do that, but I'd sure like to do that. Maybe someday. That tail is done, and then this section of the tail where the end of the fish is right here. This is one area where we are going to put a few more. Because they get closer together, there's actually more spots. So these are going to be a little more dense as far as numbers go than what I've done so far. And unlike the rest of it, this will go all the way across, even in the middle. actually quite a few right down there. I noticed up on my pink band that runs across here, I got a pretty straight line going right here, so I'm just going to break it up with just a couple more, just to make it not look so straight. Yours might not look that way, but it bugged me, so I'm changing it. So this is probably harder than anything that we've done previous to this. That's why I say I realize that. I also know we had to go fast in some areas. That's why this is a total practice run, learning how to do it. And then when you do it the second time, like say you can pause or fast forward the video, you can take time where you need to take time, you can speed through the parts that you don't want to take time in. Should be a better experience the second time around. Now the eye. There's one last little thing left to do in the eye. I'm just going to take some of that black that I've already mixed up in the upper part of my tray, and just on the bottom part here, I'm coming along the bottom edge, around that outer edge, bringing it up, around the top, and just leaving just a sliver of blue right before I get to the shiny spot. If you want to paint black right up to the shiny spot, you go right ahead. Doesn't matter, we just got to make sure that we do get that pretty dark. Because it's basically black. We're going to move through the splash at the bottom fast because we can, and it's not going to be all that bad. But before I can do that, I've got to rinse out the top of my paint tray. So I'm actually going to pause that there and we'll do the water last here.